physically strong armor, but strong armor, like, with the money situation. And then they're saying he took some of their ideas, on this. So this will, of course, play out in court. I'm just wondering, like, what Q really, like, would he really just steal? I mean, because the dude is very smart. He's done a lot of projects. He's done a lot of things, that has made money. Would he really just steal someone's ideas and their players? Because it seemed like the players, were very excited, for the league to come and for them to play, in that league. I don't know, what the payout was for the CBL. If it was the same thing, maybe it was less. But I could see them not wanting them playing in the CBL because they don't want them to get injured. They're trying to kick off or jumpstart a new league. They need everyone. They don't need anyone going anywhere else, showing any shine or getting hurt, and then they can't perform their contract or, their deal that they made with the big three. But to steal ideas and intellectual property? Wow. I'm not siding with one or the other. I just thought this was, pretty interesting that this popped off like that. This is my first hearing of it. Maybe, they waited for the right time. They had already, filed it, or maybe they were waiting to see, how everything would play out, if it was a success, which is smart, because if it is a success, it's worth more now than it was at the beginning of the season. But wow, Q stealing ideas? Oof. That I don't know, but $250 million will definitely let you, will catch your attention. Ben from BS3 Sports said, so there's another 3-on-3 league. I didn't know that. Actually, there is with the CBL. If correct me if I'm wrong out there, if someone knows, but the CBL is not a 3-on-3 league. It is, a 5-on-5, but there is another 3-on-3 league that was the Mountain Dew League. They really didn't have, former NBA players like they were, like the big three were selling it, but they were definitely selling themselves on, very, very talented basketball players, guys that played D1, maybe played overseas or something like that, but not necessarily how the big three, was. But Vince Wright gonna say no Vaseline. And if you are a Ice Cube fan or NWA, you should know what that means. I shouldn't have to go any further. And I will not go any further on that. So if he gave them the no Vaseline treatment, Vince, then you know what? Maybe Cube should be sued for $250 million because No Vaseline was one of the hardest diss songs ever. Go look it up, young people. But $250 million. I'm just glad Lopan didn't try to hit me with a lawsuit. Really, Lopan? You thinking about it? You thinking about suing me? Indeed. You thinking about suing me? Indeed. You're thinking about suing me? Indeed. Okay, you know what? Sue. Go ahead. Get your lawyer. I'll get a lawyer, and we'll duke this out, and we'll see who wins at the end, buddy. Indeed. Yeah, I'm going to win. Indeed. Yeah, that's who's going to win. Just because I ain't take you on no trip, man. Stop acting like that, man. Stop acting like that, Lopan. Jeez. You're supposed to have a problem with Big L and all them, not me, Jeez. Seth Galloway said, so are they mad that the big three came out before them? I don't think they're mad, about the big three coming out before them. I really think that they thought this was going to be a joint venture between the two. And that Q and this gentleman, Jeff Quintet, if I'm saying that right, I'm sure I'm torturing his name or whatever. they basically saying that they got together, they were going to have some ideas, and then Cube and them basically separate themselves and said, you know what, let's go ahead and do this without them. So I think that's really what it is. Kind of like the Facebook thing with the twins and Zuckerberg. You know, they're saying, hey, we had something to do with Facebook. You know, it wasn't just all Zuckerberg. So that's what I think, you know, Carl George is saying, is that this wasn't just all, you know, Cube and them. They had something else to do, you know, with it. So they're saying that, you know, the big three allegedly, remember that, allegedly went back on his word by signing players, you know, that I guess that they weren't supposed to be signed, and 20, you said, including at least 20 who also agreed to play in the CBL. So that's what they were talking about, stealing players, you know, and barring them from, you know, suiting up elsewhere. So CBL was expecting some of these players to be playing, you know, with them. Cube basically said, nah, that's not going to happen. So now there's a, you know, disagreement there on what was agreed, what was said, what was worked out, you know, between them. So, but we'll find out, because if it is true, there will be no season 2 of Big Three. You know, there will be no season. That's all I got right there. I'm gonna leave it at that, you know, and I'm gonna move on. And we're nearing the end of today's show, or tonight's show, and I appreciate all of y'all chiming in and sticking in here with me, you know, for tonight's show. Got some people on the West Coast, got some people on the East Coast, and people in the Midwest. Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, I've been talking about, you know, NFL is starting tomorrow, so I got my top 3 games. My top 3 games that I think everyone should be watching for this week to get your NFL juices running. Now, there's some games that's out there that nobody is probably going to want to see. You know, like the Bill. I'm sorry, Shabazz Fuquan Shabazz. I'm sorry, but I don't think anyone is going to want to see the Buffalo Bills versus the Jets. You know, and it hurts to say this, but I don't think anyone's going to want to see my Detroit Lions play, you know, the Cardinals. But there are some teams that out there that I will be watching, along with the Detroit Lions and the Atlanta Falcons. But there are some teams that I will be watching to see how this plays out. And number one of the top 3 games is going to be Green Bay versus Seattle. They have had some very good games, especially playoff games that Green Bay, and it goes, I mean, when I say playoff games, it even goes back to, I don't know if people remember this, is that when Green Bay played Seattle in the playoffs and Matt Hasselbeck was the quarterback, and this just popped in my head, they went into overtime and he infamously said, they flipped the coin and he called heads and he said, and we're going to score. Well, Matt Hasselbeck went on to throw a pick 6 to Al Harris, I think that was, who took it to the house and ended the game in overtime. So that was, you know, bad moment for Matt, but you like the confidence that he had. Another game that they had was another playoff game, the comeback from Seattle when Green Bay had them on the ropes. Seattle vice versa. Green Bay had Seattle on the ropes and they fell apart. I forgot the guy's name. It was a tight end. They were on an onside kick. He bobbled the kick from Seattle to Green Bay. He played tight end for Green Bay. Man, I wish I could remember his name, but it changed everything. Seattle came back. They won that game. I think they went on to the Super Bowl, you know, and they won the Super Bowl. I think that was the year that they met the Broncos, you know. So these teams have had some really good, you know, run-ins. Vince Wright, who is a Minnesota Vikings fan, said, F Green Bay, book it. So I'm looking forward to this. Aaron Rodgers versus Russell Wilson. You got Seattle, who line play is not that great, but you got the question mark, who's going to be, the starting running back, or is this going to be, a running back committee? You got my man from FLINT, Flint, my man Thomas Rawls. Right now, he looks like he's, penciled in, not inked in, but penciled in as the starter. And you got, that carousel of Chris Carson, CJ Prosise, and Eddie Lacy. So you got a lot of talent there. You got your wideouts. Hey, they just traded Jermaine Kearse to the New Jersey Jets. So now guys like Paul Richardson and Lockett, can they step up? Lockett may not play, but Paul Richardson, and you got Doug Baldwin. And don't forget, this guy is back. I thought he was back last year, but, injuries, kind of slow you down. But Jimmy Graham, I think he will play a very, very, very large part in their success, this year. And you can't forget about Seattle's defense, the Legion of Boom. Earl Thomas is back. Cam Chancellor is back to knocking people out. Richard Sherman is locking people down and talking trash. You got all the guys that's on the line like Frank Clark, Michael Bennett, and Seattle just picked up, who was it? They just picked up some other D lineman that got cut. I can't even think of right now. I wish someone got it, put it in the chat room, but Seattle is ready to go, with their defense. But not to be outdone by what Stephen A. says, that bad man, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is no joke. We go back to another game where Aaron Rodgers threw the Hail Mary. And then, who was it? Who was that caught it? I have a brain fart right now, but someone on Green Bay caught it, but they gave it to Seattle because that was the game with the replacement reps, and Aaron Rodgers almost lost his mind, because they got robbed. So that's another game, that was an awesome game between these two teams. But Aaron Rodgers, you got the question of, is Ty Montgomery actually a running back instead of a wide receiver now? Jordy Nelson, another year, removed from his ACL injury. So you got to expect he's going to be Jordy and maybe a little bit better. Devontae Adams, what's going to come from this guy? Look like he's making a wave and making a case, to be a serious person that you got to worry about on their wide receiver group. On the defensive side, they struggle a little bit with their secondary, for Green Bay. So can they tighten that up? You still got Clay Matthews out there who's back to his natural position so he can rush the quarterback. It's a lot of pieces there. So I'm looking forward to the Green Bay Packers versus the Seattle Seahawks game. Cedric Galloway says he still got questions about his Raiders suspect secondary. Cedric, your defense is suspect. Until they prove something otherwise, because last year they were horrible on defense, and that is why Derek Carr and them had to put up those points. So I get what you're saying, but it's year two. It's year two. You had some rookies, you got another rookie, in Conley, but I'm just saying, year two, they should be better. They should be better than what they were, the previous year. So we shall see, but game number 2 that I got that you need to watch, and this ties in with what I was saying earlier. Ben's Dallas Cowboys versus the New York Giants. The Zeke Elliott thing playing is enough, but it's a divisional game. It's a rivalry game. They had a pretty good the first game that they played. Dak almost pulled that game out, but I think it was Terrence Williams, if I remember right. He caught the ball and he just couldn't get out of bounds, or he did not get out of bounds, to give them time, to score it. So Dak was in that game, and they, the Giants got away, with a win on that night, because it could have been different. But Zeke is playing. Now there's no question about who's the quarterback in Dallas. We already know who the quarterback. And like I was saying earlier, you have this tremendous defense that will be trying to, cause havoc and everything in JPP and Olivier Vernon and Snacks Harrison. There's secondary with Janoris Jenkins, Eli Apple, and that bad dude, man. 334 Bama boy, I wish he was in here, but that bad dude, Landon Collins, man. He is something serious back there at the safety position. So